Hi, how are you? Tommy Tutalo. I'm the author of Esperanza. Kat, thank you for this opportunity to be able to read my book Esperanza on the Lowly Cafe. So, a little bit about Esperanza. Esperanza is the story about an illegal immigrant from Mexico, Gabriela, who comes across the border seeking a better life and better opportunities. This non-linear story begins many years later when her daughter, Sarita, discovers 3 journals that Gabriela left behind for her. As she begins to read through these journals, which become windows into the past, does the story Esperanza truly begin. Esperanza begins with Gabriela crossing the border, and then we learn about her life after, how she survived and lived in the USA, but most importantly, how she was involved with a crime syndicate, which eventually comes back to haunt her. The crime syndicate eventually comes to discover her living in New Jersey with Sarita, who's a young girl at the time. Gabriela is abducted, deported back to Mexico, and Sarita, who is now the target of this crime syndicate, ends up in the hands of a strange neighbor, Dante, who is also connected to Nada Mas and trying to flee USA and go into Mexico. And we follow Dante and Sarita on this journey as they go to reunite with Gabriela in Mexico, all while Nada Mas is looking for both of them, and the FBI gets involved as well. So it's a story about hope, story about ambition, story about desire, and how these 3 lives are united, divided, and connected. So, I'm going to read the beginning of the story for you. All that remained were the ghosts and the echoes of everything that once was. The dilapidated apartment left abandoned throughout the years was no longer home, but a window into the past. As sunbeams shone through the broken window and the howling winds blew in through the emptiness, life seemed to have slipped away between the fabrics of space and time. Though the years had come and gone, all that remained of a life forever lost was preserved in the pages of 3 aged brown leather journals that Sarita began to unwrap. They were all she had left. The journals were resting on her lap, wrapped in brown paper, securely laced together by 2 pieces of slightly shredded twine. Sarita was no longer a shy yet mischievous girl, but was now a young, beautiful adult in her late 20s, all alone in search of meaning and direction towards a new path. Sarita's mesmerizing eyes beamed with anticipation as she stared at the 3 journals. She reflected on all the stories she had been told and contemplated whether she wanted to tarnish the stories told by her mother, Gabriela, or relive them all, and perhaps a little bit more via the written word. The internal wounds from the loss of her mother were still fresh, but would soon begin to heal. Sarita began to scan through the first journal, periodically pausing at random words, keenly observing that portions of pages were filled from top to bottom. The array of words were only fragments of the mind, glimpses of a life lived to the fullest that had suddenly been cut too short. But each page was so full of emotion and extraordinary experience that it felt liberating, yet like a disturbing prison manifested by the truth found within the pages. Some things were never meant to be known, but all that had been found was now a key to open up the mind and free the soul. Amidst the clouds of darkness still lingering, Sarita found solace within the pages, filled with a life battling fear, doubt, disbelief, yet thriving with passion, desire, love, and happiness. It seemed no matter how many times there seemed to be failure within the heart darkness, Gabriela's life and words were able to comfort and inspire Sarita, providing a beacon of hope. Esperanza. Hope. Where would we be without it? Hope is one of the most essential things in a person's life, yet we still find ourselves as lost souls, sitting here all alone, gazing out the same old window that once was. Whether it was the love we once had, or the messengers sent to guide us through the darkness to the other side and back again, the journeys we take and the people we meet along the way change us. For better or worse, we are no longer who we once were, or at least who we thought we were. But one thing is sure, one thing is true, that out of all the messengers and saviors sent to soothe the pain or guide us through, we will always remember that time, that moment that changed our path and changed our lives. Most importantly, we will always remember those who kept us on our feet, guided us when we were blind, and gave us hope. Even as I continue to sit here in the silence, I can still clearly remember that time and that moment that forever changed my life. Standing in darkness on the banks of America. That was the beginning of all that I now have. My home, my life, my Hermosa. The spark of imagination became my reality. And as for the experience, well, it changed me. I never imagined being where I am now. But that's the way life is. It surprises us, puts us in situations that test us, and brings people into our lives who challenge us. Everything changes. The places, the faces, and even my own face in the mirror. When I lost faith in God and doubted that God even existed, I was given the most unexpected gift and became alive. It was until that night I risked everything for a dream, that I regained my faith in God, believing that God existed in us all and helped those in need. I can still feel the essence of emotions from that night. Feel the cold, muddy waters and jagged desert rocks. I was lost and all alone. I could hear the screams from within the darkness of that night. It was that night that I realized God, no matter how flawed, brought me to the banks of freedom, guided me and showed me the light. It was the voice from that night, her voice, that I will never forget. I can still hear it echoing deep within my ears. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. That's the beginning of the story. As you read further on, you see Gabriella crossing the border and what she went through. And basically, the story gets into the darker side of the illegal immigration issue, which seems to be an issue now. It seems to be in the news recently, and you learn a lot about the people who crossed the border in the story, a lot about why they crossed the border, a lot about the people that they get involved with, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I hope that you enjoy my story, Esperanza, because it really goes into the dark side of the illegal immigration situation. But within that, there's the story of hope for those people and Gabriella. So thank you for your time. You can learn more about me and my story, Esperanza, with my website, TommyTutalo.com. Esperanza can be found on Amazon. Just search Esperanza by Tommy Tutalo. And some of my other books are on Amazon as well. So thank you for your time, and I hope that you invest in Esperanza and enjoy the story and discover some hope within it and your own life.